All right. Excuse me. What's going on, Chain Gang? How we doing tonight? I think I need to remove these 2 rings. That might make my life easier. Actually, you know what? No. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh, okay. So, I've got my coif here. I'm adding some decorative edging. There is the piece in its entirety. Very lovely. We're adding this edging. We're adding a decorative border is what we're doing. Right? I'm just at a part that I don't know if I did it differently than all the rest. Well, that's not good. Oh, there we go. That works. That's better. So, there's some sections where the seam down the side, right? Let's see if I can hold this up. See that section where all the rings are woven differently? That's what I use to close up the seam. And then down here at the bottom along the border, I'm trying to close those up so that they all match. I'm having trouble with one. Mech, what's going on? I did have a good day. I can't complain. Can't complain. So, if everything else is equal, then this should work, but it's not wanting to. I was almost done with this before dinner. Then I went to dinner, and I forgot how I closed this up. Anyway, Mech, how was your day? Hope it was good as well. Is that what I'm doing wrong? Okay, so anyway, moving on. For anyone wondering what I'm doing, I'm making chainmail. And if you think to yourself, oh wow, that's awesome. It is awesome. It's super fun. You can make all kinds of ridiculously cool stuff with it. Not just pieces of armor, but pieces of art. And good, you studied all day for your commercial test? Okay, good, good. You're right on, it's good to hear. Getting those tests done. I think this is almost how I did it. You just want all the areas to match, kind of. I'm okay if it's not perfect, but so I will put this on in a moment and show everyone what this looks like. What is in? I can't tell what's in the way here. Everything is in the way. Am I missing a ring somewhere? Kind of. Ah, okay. Hang on. I think I figured it out. No, that doesn't make sense. Alright, so anyway. The job is going well. I can't complain. Still in the orientation process. But I'm not complaining about that. Because once I'm not in the orientation process, then it's just me running around to patients' houses. Which is fine. I don't mind doing that. But You know, it's nice to have coworkers for a minute. Seeing as how I've been sitting in my basement opening and closing rings for the past, I don't know how long. Yeah, you know, it's nice to talk to people. It's not that nice. I'm not, you know, I wouldn't do it long term or anything, but... Okay, so, all of that. Flip this section over. There should be space. There we go. Is that it? By Jove, I might have it. So, glad you don't have coworkers, not that you see on a regular basis. Yeah, I don't know, what's the word? I'm not antisocial, I'm just not much of a people person, which is why I like doing what I do, which is sitting in my basement and opening and closing rings. I'll come back to this because I don't like how that one ended up. But there's two things left I got to do. I want to show you this, how this splays out, right? How the edge on this works, right? And I'm going to do an art piece using this principle. Can you see that? You can't see that. Look at, okay, so this is all circular, this border, this edge, right? It goes all the way around. Now imagine if this lump in the middle was here and this was all stretched out on like a craft hoop, right? And it was different colors. That'd be cool. So, two things I want to do. I want to king the edge of where it goes around my face. Three things, okay? Then I have this little elf weave patch here. Like metal embroidery. Yeah, kind of. Okay, see how that... Yeah, that's correct. I'm going to add a band of elf weave across around the head. Right, we're going to do that. King the area around my face. And I'm going to put a tie in here so that I can cinch it up. So, take my glasses off before this. This is going to ruin my hair too. Oh. Okay. Let me get my glasses back on. Oh, and then, okay, so four more things, right? Let's see here. Not that section. There we go. Is it that button? There we go. All right, this is what it looks like. I'm going to put a tie, like a shoelace right here to cinch it closed. It's mostly for looks, right? So it doesn't hang open. This can come off of my head, right? So I can wear it with as a hood, right? Your connection is horrible. You're going to reset the network and see if that fixes it. Well, it might be your connection, but also remember that like my internet is terrible and I'm going to upgrade to fiber as soon as I can. So it might be me. All right. So yeah, we'll add a band across the top. We'll king the edge. When I say kinged, it just means double up the rings. That's all it means, right? I don't know if that comes from checkers. When you get to the other side, you king your checker, or if it's something else. No idea. I assume that it's from the game. Oh, all right. Fix my hair here. Am I still pretty? We'll just start with this row across the top. I am down to like sections of chainmail that I have to. They were a part of this piece, and now I've got to take them apart and add them one ring at a time, and that's annoying. But it is what it is. I'm not ordering more rings for this project. So, uh-oh. That's not good. You don't want to drop an open ring into a project because it'll get stuck and then you'll forget about it. And then when you go and try to put the piece on, that open ring will scratch you up. Come on. I think that'll work. So, I'm happy to be nearly done with this piece. What have I got? Okay. I had some monkey fists projects that I did recently. If you go back on the timeline of any of my social media profiles, you'll see them. I'd go get them, but they're over on my windowsill. Right. And I have this interwoven 4-in-1. It was a bracelet. I didn't like the clasp, so I took the clasp off. Then it became another version of a bracelet, right? And it's cool. I like this piece. I'm going to take this apart and turn it into something else because I don't have the exact ring size to do this again or to do any more of this. So I'm going to take one of these 1-inch steel ball bearings and turn it into a little monkey fist. That's my next project. Malware bytes improve your protection. Not right now. So that'll clean up, I don't know, a little bit more of the mess. As each day goes by, a little bit gets cleaned up every day. And slowly my workspace is revealed and I can see what I'm doing. One day I'll have it all done. All right, has anyone seen trailers for, is it The Landman? It's on Paramount with Billy Bob Thornton. So I've seen some of the clips from it, right? And I'm not 100% sure what's going on. It's just that it's like a TV show where Billy Bob smokes all the time. So, I don't know what that show's about. But I did hear a story once upon a time about Billy Bob Thornton. And he was on a private plane. He wanted to smoke. And he had the flight attendant call the owner to ask how much it was to smoke on the plane. And the owner told him, like, no, you're not allowed to smoke on the planes. And he's like, no, come on. What is it really? Like, what's the cleaning fee to smoke on the plane? And the owner relented and was like, yeah, it's $5,000. So during this private flight, Billy Bob Thornton paid $5,000 to smoke on a plane. Now, I have no idea if that story's true. Obviously, I wasn't there. I've never been on a private plane, and I don't fly anymore, so it's highly unlikely that I ever will be. All right, so when I say kinged, let's zoom in here for the people on the overhead camera. I'm sure most people know what I'm talking about. When I say kinged, I am literally doubling up the rings on the edge of this. This part goes over my forehead, right? So for everyone over here, you can see these rings right here. They're doubled up. That's called kinging them. So we'll do this all the way across the top. It's an easy way to differentiate the edge from the rest of the piece and give it some texture. Like, I've already done the entire border of the rest of the hood in elf weave, so I'm not too concerned about getting fancy up here across my head. And I'm also adding a band around the portion that goes across my dome. Come on, zoom out. There you go. So I could find another weave to go across my forehead to make it super cool. I could figure that out. I'm not going to. This is good enough. I think I'll probably, you know what? I'll probably run a leather cord through here or something. Like, despite the, okay, so if you can't tell, I'll hold this up real quick and show you. There are two different colors. See that band, that darker band? These are all stainless steel rings from the same supplier. I'm assuming that they're a different alloy. I polished them up and ran them through the tumbler as best I could, but I could not get them to get shiny. So I'm assuming it's just a different alloy and I'm stuck with it, which kind of sucks because if this were a piece for sale, that would not be acceptable. But since this is just going down in my basement for people to put on when we're hanging out at the bar down here, I'm not even gonna worry about it. I'm gonna call it a day. If this were a piece for sale, I would not tolerate that. Right? They would all be the same color. And it sucks running into issues like that, but this is not, I don't know, this is not an important piece. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to even be working on this piece, okay? So here's what happened. Like this cube, okay? I was not supposed to be working on this cube. My goal right now is to finish up all the rings I have on hand that I ordered over the past 20 years that have, like, built up and are taking up too much room in my basement, right? And I said, I'm not going to order any more rings until I'm done with all the ones I have on hand. So I had rings in this size, quote unquote, and when I ordered more rings in this size, I ended up getting a different size ring because the manufacturer had made it so that if you ordered a 1/4 inch inner diameter ring, the inner diameter was actually a 1/4 inch, as opposed to the old rings, right? It was a 1/4 inch plus spring back. And spring back is a phenomenon that happens whenever you wrap a wire around a what's called a mandrel, a metal rod. Okay, and that metal has some springiness to it, some desire to not be wrapped around a coil. When you are done winding your coil and you cut the wire, it will unravel a little bit. So the rod might be a 1/4 inch in diameter, and you release the tension on the coil and it unravels, and so it's a 1/4 inch plus spring back. The manufacturer decided we want our stuff to be as true to size as possible, and so the new rings that I ordered were smaller than the old rings I had on hand. So I took the old rings and I turned them into a dice bag, but I still had all these new rings. I was like, okay, my goal was to make a coif. That's what I was going for. I'll just make a coif. So I ordered a bunch more rings, and I did the math on this last night. This weighs about 6 pounds. And I think, was it 6? Yeah, it was 6 pounds, 3.6 ounces or something. Why not sell it at a discount or like a discrepancy? Because it's for, like, the whole reason behind making it in the first place was I've got 3 chainmail shirts down here in the basement that frequently get people want to take a look at when they have a few drinks in them, and they try them on, and then we take fun pictures of them wearing them. And this is just another piece to add so that people can try it on and stuff, and we can take funny pictures. If this was a production piece, I wouldn't have that issue. Although in a production piece, I would do things very similar, right? I'd put a fancy border along the edge. I'd decorate the area around the face. I'd add a band across the top. I might even do some inlay work. Maybe add some copper or some brass to it. All the seams holding the sections together would be a different weave. So that would be, a production piece would be a lot more work. As it is, okay, so back to what I was saying, the weight of this was 6 pounds, 3.6 ounces. And if I did my math right, it's 14,288 rings as of last night. I've added some weight since then, right? So when I ordered a few extra rings, I did not realize that I ordered that many. And I'm going to double check that number because I don't think I ordered that many rings, but I might have. So that is a surprisingly large number of rings for this piece. But I like this ring size. Like, with this at only 6 pounds, a shirt out of this, like, this feels light for the size. A shirt out of this ring size would be pretty comfortable, I think, as opposed to my other shirts that are absurdly heavy. So, this is 18 gauge, 7/32, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. All right. Anyway, Levi, how are you tonight? Are you still hanging out? Selling pieces at a discount. I've never done that. You know? I've always taken something, if I didn't like the way it was or it didn't sell, I've always taken it and reworked it into something else. So I don't know if that is a good way to go about doing things. Let's see if this kind of stands out. You can kind of see it on the overhead camera. And I'll give you guys a close-up up here. You see how those rings down at the bottom are doubled, right? It doesn't add a lot of texture to it, but like just enough, right? That going around the whole face, it should make a visual difference. So it should be cool, I think, is what I'm trying to say. Also, adding these rings to the edge will tighten up the actual face part. So, something's off here. I've done something wrong. No, that's correct. That's correct. I missed a spot. Jeep and Jammer, how you doing? What's going on? It's going. I keep having these like curveballs thrown at me. Why is that like that? That's like that. Okay, okay. It's just that one that goes through all 5 there, okay. Sorry, trying to figure this out. Then 2 that way, then needs 2 this way. There was another, oh, you know what else I saw previews for, or started to see previews for? The live action How to Train Your Dragon. Apparently that is now a thing. I didn't know they were making one. I'm glad they are. I'm looking forward to it. I don't like how this is looking. What am I doing wrong? Oh, that matches that. That matches. But that's dumb. Alright, I'm going to undo all of this real quick, and then see if I can find a nicer pattern. So, yeah, I want to avoid all How to Train Your Dragon live action trailers. I recently just watched all of the movies. Like in the last year. We might just do this. Like so. Just do every other one. That might make more sense. All right, let's try that. So, all right. How is the search for a new vehicle going, my friend? We don't want it to look like that, so we want that, then, okay. That's the look I'm going for. There we go. Okay, I figured it out. I'm not on the way down the sides of the face. I'm doing every other, I'm kinging every other ring. Otherwise it looked really wonky. It's not, I don't know, it's not a true kinging, but yeah, that's better. Okay. Not great. Yeah, kind of looking for a new vehicle right now. I can only imagine the magnitude of that. But seen a couple where the engine is toast and they still want about $5,000 for it. That sounds about right. It's like, yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. I'll keep my money. I tell you what. Oh, come on. I have probably mentioned this before the last time we talked about vehicle prices, but I'm an International Scout 2 fanboy. And if you don't know what those are, they're like big boxy SUVs from the 60s and 70s. And they're like K5 Blazers and old Ford Broncos. And you can't find a rusted out non-operating one of those for less than $5,000 right now. So I don't know what's made them so popular over the last few years. Like a full nuts and bolts restoration for an International Scout 2 is about $100,000 right now. Like if you were to buy one that had a full nuts and bolts restoration, that's how much you'd be paying. That's like, I know resto-modded International Scout 2s, like with all the new brakes, front and back, and new suspension and reinforced body panels and stuff like that. That were less than $70,000 10 years ago. So the price of used vehicles, collector's vehicles, is it's ridiculous. I like the way that looks. I should use King's Mail to make a piece. I've never done it. Not a large piece, anyway. Like European 4-in-1's cool. European 6-in-1 is cool. King's Mail, cooler than both of those. Never made anything with it. Got a small piece of King's Mail on your desk at work? Right on. I mean, what we tried the 8-in-2. This is, yeah. Out of the aluminum 12-gauge half-inch rings, right? This piece isn't bendable enough to do anything with. I don't have enough rings to justify continuing this piece, and I don't want to order more, so I got to figure out something else to do with it. So, but 8-in-2 is like 6-in-1, right? It's just a thick chainmail weave. King's Mail looks... I've seen a few pieces out of it, and it's just slightly different. It's doubled up 4-in-1 is what it is. So, you like these armrests? Is it Eli or L? For some reason, I think it's L. Whenever someone has two L's next to each other in their name on my computer screen, where I read names over here, right? My computer screen is there. The second L always has like a space, and so it looks like an I, unless you look close. And I thought it was dirt. Tried cleaning it up. Nope, it's just the way it works. So these armrests are, well, the leather on top is custom stuff that I did, because the original leather, pleather, fake stuff that it came with was worked to death, right? So I did all this. It's a chainmail stamp pattern, right? I bought the chainmail stamp and I was like, oh, I got to make something, so I made a couple things. And then this part holds onto the desk, and I added that leather pad because the pad on there to protect the top of the desk, that got worn out and everything. But they are, what are they called? They're like these cheap little as seen on TV armrests. Just know that, you know, the pad underneath and I think that's where it goes. I don't know. And the pad on top are going to fall apart fairly quickly. But other than that, I like them. They kind of get in the way sometimes, but pretty sure I fixed that for the most part. I didn't have a 1/2-inch drill bit. I didn't have a 3/4-inch drill bit. I had a 1/2-inch drill bit. So the part that screws to the desk to hold it in place kind of rests in that 1/2-inch hole. I've been making chainmail for 28 years. Ever since I was 14. So now you know, if you can do math, you can figure out how old I am. Yeah, 28 years. So like 14 to 24, not that serious, just kind of learning a lot of stuff, and I didn't have a lot to experiment with except for like rings I made at home. And then from 24 until now, 24 until about 38. More seriously, oh, that looks good. Yeah, I like the way that came out. And then from 37 until now, when I was 37, that's when I started my website, where I do chainmail themed apparel and accessories. And it's like all soft, floofy stuff with chainmail printed on them. I've decided on my chainmail tattoo. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I've decided on it. So that's a start. It's going to take a lot of work on my part. I'm going to have the design in hand so that the tattoo artist can print it off and then trace it or whatever. Coming on 5 years, you were just scrolling by and found me. Right on. What kind of stuff do you like to make? And do you make stuff for yourself? Is it a hobby, or do you sell stuff? $5 years. You can get real good in 5 years. for anyone watching, going, I want to take up chainmail as a hobby. The learning curve is really steep, but really short. So once you get the basics down, right? You're like, it's like really steep. Okay, real steep, and then it levels off and rises gradually. That first 2 months, maybe, is the difficult part. Now, you know, everyone's different, and I've seen some people take longer than others to become proficient. But I have seen new people begin and just take off with it very quickly. You do mostly jewelry, but sometimes bigger projects like bikinis, purses, and belts. Right on. Very cool, very cool. So I've made 2 bikini tops, 1 bikini bottom, and several belts that are getting a revision right now. Some of them are getting torn apart and being made into other things, but most of them are getting a revision. And I've done 2 purses. I'm not very good with purses or bags, or I don't know. Most of what I do is well, what I'm trying to move towards is sculptural. So, just big chainmail sculptures. But I need to finish all of my old projects first and use up all the rings I have on hand first before I do that. So, soon though. I say soon. It could take me 2 more years to finish everything I have on hand. Especially now that I'm back to work. I just don't have the time to dedicate to this. But I did get a new garage door opener because mine was opening and closing. Well, it was opening on its own. So that was fun. That's, you know, an unexpected $800 bill. Actually, I think it was $700. You want to do some sculptural chainmail made out of clay next year? There is one person who I've seen do that, and I did follow her on Instagram, but my Instagram got hacked, and now I don't remember her name. But yes, sculptural chainmail made from clay is awesome. You should definitely pursue that. What am I missing here? I would like to try my hand at that myself. It's like one of my favorite things is when an artist makes something out of a different media than what you expect it to be made in. And I have a plan for doing some of that myself, but it's going to be a long time before I even can think about that project, so. It's like, let's, you know, I've got to get this coif done first before I can even begin to add to my list of projects that are absurd. Would you like to see my 30-pound cube? So you can have some idea of what I mean by large chainmail sculptures. As I say large chainmail sculpture, I don't really think that translates across very well. It's looking good. How many hours do you have in it? I have no idea. I started this a long time ago, with a small batch of rings, and then just kept ordering rings and working on it here and there until I am now at the end. Actually, let's do some math. If there are 14,228 rings in it divided by 200, that would be 71 plus hours so far. So you fix your signal as best you could. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah, this is all stainless. It's all stainless, you know, even despite the color differentiation here, right? I don't know if you can see those two bands. Two different colors, right? It's supposed to be all stainless, according, you know, to what I ordered. So, but 14,000 rings is 70 hours. This one has, how many rings does this one have? 18,000? And this was 130 hours? I don't remember why it took so long. Yeah, something like that. So, I try to work largely in stainless. I will watch out for this color differentiation issue and complain about it next time. I think I've done this a few times now where I'll order rings and then I won't pay close attention to them, and then I'll tumble them or something, and I'll think that I'm doing okay. But in reality, I should call the supplier and be like, yo, these are not, you know, up to par, or, you know, I don't know. I'm just not much of a complainer, you know. Oh, you know what else I did today? I had a guy come by. So I bought a new AC over the summer. Like right at the tail end of summer, our AC went out. And it was one of those, yeah, okay, I could call the repair tech out to fix it a dozen times. But the reality is that it's like 20 years old. And probably just needs to be replaced. So we bit the bullet on that and got a new one. And then, as it slowly fades to winter, there is a service that will come and clean out all your ducts, and then they seal it so that all the little gaps in your system between the metal ductwork are all sealed up. And I was like, okay, well, I just spent a lot of money to get this new AC that's supposed to be more efficient. Let's get all the holes in my ductwork sealed up so that, you know, I can use that efficiency, and it should save me some money over the long term between the new AC unit and the sealing of all the metal. Okay, all the kinging is done. Put this back on and see what this bad boy looks like. It's actually kind of cold. Okay, so we need something to lace this up with, right? Can you guys tell from there, like the texture change at the edge here? I'll hold it up like closer. I can't get my face. Hang on, let me put my glasses on. There. I don't know if you can see it on this camera here. It's pretty subtle right there. I don't know, you probably have to be pretty close to even notice it, but good enough. Good enough for government work. Oh. Okay. So there were 3 things, right? 3 things that I was going to do. Oh, okay. There were 4 things I was going to do. King this, right? Put a fancy border around the edge. It's very fancy, right? And then I was thinking, the ends of these dags, the dags are the triangle pieces along the edge here, right? So the ends of these dags are not pointed at all. And I thought, what if I, like, put a chain along each one? Just ran a chain all the way around. What if I did that? Just purely because I can. I don't have enough rings in this size to do it. But, that would make it stand out, and it would make it so that I don't have to figure out how to make these pointy. I might just make them pointy. I want them to point. But, testing my delay to see how far I am behind. 8:53. Is that still mech? Yes. I got 8:53 right now, dude. And soon we will have fiber internet. Beads would give Jester vibes. There you go. Oh, my leg is numb. Okay. I have this many rings left. The question is that enough? Yeah, probably. The other question is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a strip of elf weave to go around my head, right? The dome portion of this piece. Okay. So that means we gotta take this section off. This section, the top section. See all those seams in there? Look at that center right there. Isn't that cool? Oh, just those 5 rings going around in a circle. That turned out cool. I like that piece. It lets me know when this is inside out. Here, hang on. There's another close look at that center section. Okay. So, got to figure out where to cut this and take it off and remove 3 rows and put a strip of elf weave in there. So the question is, do we make it out of this pile of rings right here? That's all I have left, but that might be enough. Or do we use these slightly smaller rings, which I don't think I would have enough of. We'll go with the big rings. Yeah, you can see the change. Right on. All right. So, if you've ever made elf weave, you want to make a chain like 3 times longer than what you need. I don't know if that's true. That just is what I'm told. that is not the right size ring. That's a 1/4 inch ring. That goes over here. So, ooh, you know what? I don't have enough for both. Oh, but I got the okay. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. Move all this over here. Along the dags, right? I could figure out a way to make them pointed, right? But instead, I've got all these 18 gauge 1/4 inch rings that they're Joshua DiLiberto rings. They're expensive and saw cut, but I don't need them. So what if we did a half Persian 4-in-1 chain going from each of these dags all the way around? What if we did that, and the band across the top, and the fancy border, and the fancy seams, and the king's mail around the face? It's about 4 minutes. Okay. Yeah. So if you're on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or X, you might have a delay in how everything goes. Because I have a massive drop frame rate over there, and I'm getting new fiber internet soon. AT&T said it would be the 15th. Haven't heard anything yet. I'm sure if I call them again, they're just gonna be like, couple more weeks. So I'm gonna just sit on the struggle bus until I can connect to the fiber optic cable out front. Is half Persian 4-in-1 the weave I want to use? Yeah, sure, why not? I think that's a good idea. Astrid, how you doing? Okay, so let's start with the band across the top. What's going on in your world? How's the baby? All right. So we're gonna make a 1-in-1 chain. What time is it? 9 o'clock. I don't know. We'll see how long it takes for an hour. I'm sorry. Words are hard. We will see how long of a chain we can make in an hour. I won't just do the 1-in-1 chain. I'll make a starter chain and go from there. And you've been sick for a week? Oh no, that's no good. Okay, so for elf weave, interwoven 4-in-1, probably Tiffany, I've never made it, and elf bridge, right? You can start with a long 1-in-1 chain. I've read that 3 times longer than your desired piece is how long you want to make your chain. I don't know if that's true. I've never made a 1-in-1 chain as long as 3 times longer than the desired piece. I've always stopped and started adding the elf weave section or the center section. But you make it 3 times longer what you need, you fold it in half and you start connecting it up the center. So, pray tell, what are you sick with? I've had people be sick all week. I'm fine. Some good news, actually, speaking of sick patients. So my job involves keeping people out of the hospital. Unfortunately, 2 of my patients went to the hospital. for reasons unrelated to me. Right? One of them got COVID, and he's been in the hospital for like 10 days and is finally going back home. This patient should not be going home. This patient, if I can talk without spitting on myself, that'd be great. This patient should be going to a facility where he can receive care, like as he needs, but you can't force people to do what they need. Okay? That's a hard thing to deal with. No idea, just haven't had a voice and lots of drainage and cough because of it. Oh, fun. Fun, fun, fun. But this patient has another company has taken over his care. And I'm 100% okay with that. This patient was on a cycle of going to the hospital, coming home for a month or two, going back to the hospital, coming home for a couple of weeks, going to the hospital, coming home, a couple of days, right? And it was just getting progressively worse. And it's like, it's largely because he won't go to a facility. All of the fancy? Yeah, all of the fancy. So it's sad because it's like a lot of times, there is care that is available for sick people and they don't want it. So they end up suffering needlessly. But, people are who they are and they want to be in their homes and they want to be comfortable. So, your granddad was stubborn about being in care? Yeah. I have, my grandmother cared for my grandpa until he passed away. He should have been placed in a facility, but my grandmother has a heart of gold and wants to care for the entire world, so much so that she invited a homeless person to come and live with her. Now, I don't know if it's because my grandmother is like losing her mind, or if she's just lonely, which is what I think the case is, because every time I talk to her, she can't hear well anymore. She can't hardly see well anymore. So, like, her quality of life isn't great. Come on, puzzle piece of death. But she's been largely independent. She's 92 years old. He got so fed up he would leave randomly and end up going back home shortly before passing. Yeah. There we go. So, she has retained her independence, but after this incident with the homeless person living with her, after the incident of her inviting a homeless person home, we were like, okay, maybe we need to start looking at getting grandma into a place. So, and there are places where I wouldn't leave my worst enemy. Okay? It's a pro tip from someone who works in this industry. If you really don't like your elders, don't investigate any facility that you're going to put them into. They can get really bad. There are also really good facilities out there, so it's not the end of the world if you end up in one or have to put a family member in there. It can be bad, but you got to do your due diligence when researching these places. I know she has a great heart. You would probably do the same thing when you're that old. Yeah, I think it's because she was lonely. And because she likes to take care of everything and everyone all of the time, and she's just this 92-year-old brittle diabetic that runs around with high and low blood sugars, and she's never been like, she'll have a low blood sugar. It'll be a whole episode, right? But then her blood sugar will come back up and she'll be okay. So outside of those incidences, she's never been really unstable or anything. It's just that she can have those incidences multiple times a day. But I think she's been on a pretty good insulin regimen for the last several years. That, I mean, she's 92, takes her blood sugar 100 times a day. So, most compliant diabetic patient I've ever seen. What is that? Oh, 2 Dino, thank you. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Come on, where am I at here? Alright, something else made noise. Promise not to do the other one. The corgi. Oh, here's a fun game. So, my 2 dogs. I should put it this way: the 2 animals that live in my house, right? My older dog is just like, he's 12. I don't know if he's losing it or what, but just acting out in real weird ways, right? Like, you know, the dining room is a mess because of him. Okay, but he started going into the bathroom and you know, pulling toilet paper out of the trash can. You know, it's like toilet paper on, you know, the end of a toilet paper roll. And he takes it out in the living room and chews it up. It's like, he has never gotten into the trash before. Right? So I don't know what his deal is. He is acting wild. Okay. We have long 1-in-1 chain. Right? And to get this started, it's not that long. We'll need to make it much longer. You find your center ring so that both sides are equal-ish. And then you fold each one over on the other. I can't really show you exactly how to do it, but you start trying to make a elf weave pattern, and there's tutorials on the internet on how to make elf weave, right? The thing of it is, elf weave is a pain to start, right? So whenever I do half Persian, 3-in-1 or 4-in-1 or elf weave, it's always screwed up in the beginning. But after adding 3 or 4 rings to it, it works itself out, and I can go back and look at what I screwed up, and then I'll go back and fix it. So if at first, and same thing with half Persian, 3-in-1 and 4-in-1, if you're working on those weaves and you screw them up, just keep going, and it'll either sort itself out or you'll have to take the whole thing apart. But I usually find that I screw it up, and then boom, it's going. So, and with, practice makes perfect, so. I just can't start those weaves for some reason. All right. I did take my chainmail to the kids' basketball practice the other night. And I had to sit at like a little kid's lunch table to work, so I was like super hunched down. Yeah, that was very uncomfortable. I would have been better off just sitting on the floor. So like when it comes to making chainmail, I like my chair and my desk. And there's going to be a lot, like tomorrow night, there's a basketball game that I got to take him to. So for the next couple of months, I'm going to try and continue to stream. Okay, so a couple of things. One, I'm on orientation from at work, right? So that's going to give me some time in the evenings. I should still be able to stream, right? Two, I know I was gone like the past like 2 or 3 weeks. I was very frustrated, had some other stuff going on, and trying to get that stuff resolved. So, and negotiating child's basketball schedule and all that fun stuff, right? So, but as of right now, I'm able to stream during the week. So once I get to fly free from the nest at my job, that will determine like how much I'm going to be able to stream during the evenings. Should still be pretty on par with what we do now, negotiating a basketball schedule, but we will see what happens, and we'll play it by ear. I like doing this because it keeps me down here, and every time I come down here and work on projects for a little bit, more stuff gets accomplished. So even though I can't weave all day long like I was, we're still getting progress done. And I have finished a lot of projects that way, even if it's slow. You know what? I have a really tasty drink here. I haven't had a sip of this entire stream. My ice is probably all melted. If you've never had the luxurious combo of Sprite and pink lemonade at a 50-50 ratio, it's really good. All right, so what else? What else? I'll flip that over. Oh, and when you're starting elf weave, okay, so you've made your 1-in-1 chain, the theoretical desired length that you want to work with it at. You've started, you got a couple rings in place. When you place one ring in the beginning, you gotta like hold it in place and flip the whole thing over, place the next ring, flip it back, place the next ring, and so on and so forth, all while you're weaving it. Just FYI, at least that is the way I learned and weave to this day. You don't think you have, but you've been obsessed with citrus cherry game fun? Fuel. Citrus cherry game fuel. There's a heart in the way of that last word. assuming it's fuel. Is that like an energy drink? For some reason, okay, so I was in the military a long time ago, and when I was deployed out to Iraq, we had what are called Rippets, and they're these energy drinks that will keep you awake for days, right? Because there were times when you got to be awake for days. Okay. Being a nurse, not many when I was there, but we definitely had periods. Oh, Mountain Dew. There you go. Citrus cherry, Mountain Dew. So, Rippets. You got to be careful with them. You drink too many, you'll make your heart explode. But for some reason, like, I haven't heard about Rippets in years, right? A lot of vets from Iraq, Afghanistan know what they are. But even on, like, the veteran channels that, and my other friends that are vets, you know, they haven't mentioned it in a while. All of a sudden, recently, on all, like, the social media realm that I inhabit, everyone's talking about Rippets again, and I'm really tempted to go and get one. But I feel like that's probably chasing a high long since passed, right? What I could do at 24, you know, my body could tolerate a Rippet at 24. If I tried to drink a Rippet at 42, that might be the end. Yes, they still make Rippets. It's out there. You can get it. Speaking of Mountain Dew, since you brought that up, I had a friend in the military that Mountain Dew was all he drank. Didn't drink water, just drank Mountain Dew. I'm sure he had to have drinking water during basic training because they make you. But while we were in the same unit together, that's all he drank. You don't drink water either? Oh, that's all you drink? Okay. Is your last name Deaton, and did you serve in a combat support hospital with me in Iraq? That'd be wild. Okay. So, there's elf weave, right? And because it's unstable, the edges are unstable, it has a tendency to collapse on itself. And I'll show you what that looks like. Right? Yeah, no, I know your name is Andrew. I was just kidding. Okay, so that's what elf weave looks like, and the edges are unstable, and if you don't, like, kind of hold it in place, everything turns into what that bottom section looks like, right? It looks like that. Okay? Still a recognizable pattern there, right? But you got to flip everything back into its original intended space, right? So because of that, other more talented, prettier chainmail artists than me came up with a weave called Elf Bridge, which is a more stable version. So if you like the way elf weave looks, but you don't like how a single strand of it is unstable, try Elf Bridge. And Mech, do you go by Andrew or Andy or Drew or Drucifer? Don't tell me. I won't remember. I just call you Mech. Which, actually, even that's funny, because if you look at Mech's name, the ellipsis things on either side, I thought those were eyes. So I was like, Emeki? When he first started popping up. Lamekel, I don't know. Streaming and trying to figure out people's names that they come up with it's a talent. Okay, now that I've remembered my drink, my body's like, give me some more of that good tasting stuff here. The problem with those is the 50-50 Sprite and pink lemonade. So I can drink about 10 of them a day. Normally, I drink coffee in the morning and then water all the rest of the day, right? You had to do the same thing on Xbox, but it's El Meco. Okay. Yeah, my Xbox name, my Microsoft account name is like Wizard Omnivore 92 or something. It was the auto-suggested name that I got when I set up the account. I've never fixed it. It's like Wizard Omnivore. I don't know what that means, but it's like I just wanted to play Fable on Xbox. It's all. I didn't want to set up a Microsoft account or anything. Which I checked the release date for Fable 4. Rumor has it it's 2025. How to Train Your Dragon that I mentioned earlier, 2025. Shaping up to be a good year. And then, like I said, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, yours was Ocular Biscuit. Nice. Yeah, okay, so I'll get back to names in a second. If anyone's watched, the other thing I brought up was Landman on Paramount. Landman, with Billy Bob Thornton in it, and it looks like a show that it just looks like Billy Bob's just walking around smoking, arguing with people. So I don't know what the show's about, but I think they just made a show where Billy Bob could smoke. Dude, I'm so excited for How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah, I didn't know that I'd heard rumors of a live action, but I guess now there's trailers for it popping up, and I'm like, I'm skipping right over everything. I don't want to see a thing until I see it in theaters. It's like, if cross your fingers, if they do it well, it'll be really good. Everybody wants them to do Treasure Planet. I want them to do Treasure Planet. Oh, okay, so back to Ocular Biscuit and Wizard Omnivore, right? So I had the guy out to give me an assessment on getting the ducks cleaned and the getting the ducts cleaned and sealed, right? To make sure that all my new air conditioner is, efficient, or the furnace is efficient this winter. So it should save me some. Over the next 3 years, I should recover my money, right? I think it's more effective than putting solar panels on my roof. I have one of those emails that you it's like a Yahoo email. If you're not old, you don't know what Hotmail is or AOL or anything. So back then you had to come up with a stupid email. There was no I don't think there were auto-suggested emails back then. Okay. So I had this guy coming to do serious work on my house. And he's like, yeah, I just need you to make sure that your email address is correct. And he's looking at it, and he's like, okay, well, I understand the first part, you know, and the second part, water. And what's the number on there? And I had to explain the reasoning behind the email I set up when I was 14 years old, right? It's like, I don't know what I was thinking, you know. It wasn't quite as bad as, well, it wasn't nearly as bad as, what's his name? Rittenhouse's username. If you guys don't know what that is, go Google it. What is Kyle Rittenhouse's famous username? I'd say it, but I don't know if I can say that on any of these platforms. Hesitate to even mention him on some of these platforms. For those of you who aren't aware, I'm streaming to 4 other platforms and TikTok. So now I want to watch Treasure Planet. You know what I've never seen? I've never seen Atlantis. Come on. Like the people who I see talking about Treasure Planet often always talk about Atlantis. And I have never seen it. Didn't even know it was a thing. That would be another good live action? Yeah. We'll see what happens. I'm not, you know. It's like, I rarely go to movies anymore. I rarely watch TV anymore. I did catch some episode of Is It Cake? We sat down to dinner and my son was wanting to watch a show and he turned on Is It Cake? So I caught about 20 minutes of that. So it's, you know, I'm much more of a social media doom scroller. So if I have free time where I don't feel guilty for not being down here working on stuff, I'd rather scroll social media than watch TV 99 times out of 100. Right? I did sit down and watch the first Dune not that long ago. Haven't watched the second one yet because I sit down to watch a movie and I'm like, oh, I should be doing something, and then I have to get up and go do something. So you could come test the ductwork in my house and find leakage. Come on. Yeah, that's one of the things they do. What I have read and looked at, and what the guy was telling me is that everyone's got, because of like your ductwork is all metal boxes connected to each other, right? That just came through. Okay, we're not going with these, so I can take this apart. So where all these boxes connect, they're kind of loosely connected, right? And there's gaps where each of these square metal tubes or rectangular metal tubes connect. And so everyone's got like a 30% leak in the airflow of their home. And the sealant is supposed to seal all that up, provided the leaks aren't larger than 5/8 of an inch, which is a pretty big gap to be able to fill. And they use the videos I've watched and the things I've read, the aerosolization of the sealant that they use takes you from like 45% or 30% air loss down to less than 1%. So as long as that's relatively accurate, we should get much better airflow. And I know nobody cares about the efficiency of the airflow and the ductwork in my home. This is not like breaking news or anything. But we'll see how it turns out. I think it's going to be a decent improvement, and that I will be able to what do you call it? Like get my money's worth in about 3 years. 2.5 to 3 years. The allowable legal limit is 5%. I mean, for finished homes, is that for, because I guarantee you every house on my block has way more than 5% air loss in their duct system. Like, it might be 5% initially, right? But as that furnace and air conditioner turn off and on, all that stuff separates, unless it's sealed before, they sell the house. All the houses in my area were built in about 2005. So if you have new construction and the legal limit is 5%, that wouldn't surprise me. Because houses are coming with all of their ductwork sealed. Like, the finish on them is no longer, just rectangular tubes put together with a piece of metal. It's like they're all getting sealed inside and out as they're being, put in. But that is 100% not the way my neighborhood was built. Okay, I think it was about 15% back then. They used to flex duct in most areas, yeah. Yeah, my ductwork is not insulated. The only thing that's insulated is in my attic. I got the rectangular metal tubing, so I don't know. They'll come. They'll measure everything. They'll clean out the ducts. So I don't have a ton of dust all over the house or anything when the air turns on. Like, it's not great, but it's not that bad. It's enough to where I'm like, okay, this is getting annoying cleaning. I know that these ducts have never been cleaned out. Let me get that done. Also, that company will seal all the ducts up for me, so let's get that done too. And you know what I mean? It's one of those things you gotta bite the bullet on. I have turned on the heater this year. It was like 58 degrees in my house, and it was not humid, but like the wet air was not being dried out. So we turned on the furnace. Because I was sitting, like, with this fleece top on and sweatpants, and I was cold in my living room. I was like, no. I'm not going to be uncomfortable in my own home. Okay, so how far have we gotten? Let's see here. This is going to tighten up a little bit more. Don't do that. Right, so we're like a third of the way around my head, which should roughly correlate to a third of the way around with the coif, give or take a little bit. Is that all? Nope, there's one more. Come on. So, I hate to spend the money to get it done, but this is like the not fun part about being an adult, right? It's like, oh, and owning a home, okay? This is part of home ownership, the whole maintain your home perspective or aspect of being an adult. And basically, homes eat up a lot of money, just FYI. And it sucks. Okay. These are 18 gauge 3/16 rings. They're slightly smaller, so we can toss those. It's like, I need, let's see, what does my home need? I need a backup battery for my sump pump. I just had a new garage door opener installed. The ductwork's clean, sealed. I need the, what do you call it? Okay, I've got some panels on the back door, the frame of the back door, the beams that go down either side of the door. Down at the bottom, there's some water buildup that has turned the wood bad. So I get to get that replaced. I need someone to come by with a pressure washer and wash off my house, and then I need it painted. The siding would be okay if we didn't paint it for another year or two before it started looking real bad. But I just want to get it all done. The thing that needs to be painted the most is the trim. I've got like 2 pillars out in front of my house. So the trim along the roof line and the pillars and the trim around the garage door and all that fun stuff. So I need to get that washed off and painted, and I've got a whole list of like random things that are just upkeep on a home. So it's good to get it done. Am I going to stick with blue? You mean the color of my house? Is that what you're asking? When have you seen my house? Did I post a picture of my house somewhere? Is it in the Discord? Are you stalking me? What is going on? Am I gonna stick with it's not really, it's blue-ish. It has blue hues to it. I've said my house was blue. You pay too much attention to what I say. I appreciate it. Did I literally just say that my house is blue? I probably did. That's how short-term my memory is, okay? Like, yeah, it's gonna be relatively the same color. I'm not gonna, like, there's a homeowners association that harasses me, and I tell them to piss off all the time. Because I'm sick of their nonsense. It's like, no, I'm not gonna give you money so you can pay the guy who mows the grass around the pond. Right? Just stop being a homeowners association, and the city will do it. Like, this is dumb. Okay? So I'm not going to paint my house like hot pink or anything. Okay, so you remember what color is my house is from months ago? Jeez Louise, dude. I don't even remember what I ate for dinner tonight. I'm just kidding. I do. It was spaghetti. But last night? 2 nights ago? Yeah, no, couldn't tell you. For sure. Mine and your grandma's house is blue. My grandma's house is yellow. Kind of. The last time I saw it, it was very faded. Their house is like a $5,000 Sears catalog house. Right? And they expanded it by ordering another section of house from Sears. So there's this whole addition onto my grandparents' house that is slightly newer. It's still like from the 50s or something. But literally, my grandpa got out of the military. He became a lineman for a long time, hanging power lines. Bought a house in Boise, Idaho. Excuse me. Raised 3 kids there, and it was $5 or $6 grand when they bought it. And they ordered it from a Sears catalog. But her house was, it was always yellow, and then, you know, it's 70 years old at this point, so. She's 92. She's not going to be outside painting her house anytime soon. So the upkeep on the house is basically just making sure the yard doesn't get overgrown, and my dad and my uncle take care of that. You didn't know you could buy a house from Sears? Yeah. Back in the day, this used to be a proper country. If you go and look under her house, there's like, you know, rotted 2x12-inch frames, you know, frame boards that her house rests on. Now your new car costs more than that? Yeah. Yep. That's how it goes. Where are we at? 9:45. That's how it goes. It's like I just dropped $4 grand into my truck this year for a new timing chain. So usually my truck averages, okay, after my truck turned 8 years old, beyond tires, brakes, oil changes, all the regular day-to-day maintenance stuff, my truck would be about $1,000 a year in repairs. $500 to $1,000, right? This last time around, it was $4 grand to change the timing chain, and then another $400 on a tune-up, right? Because I had misfires in the engine. Because I think I told this story before, but my truck wasn't running right, and my brother-in-law is a mechanic. I take my truck to him, and I just drop it off at his house, and he drives it into work. And he calls me up, and he's like, "Hey, he's been the only one to work on my truck for the past 10 years, basically. One other time I went somewhere else, that was a mistake." Okay. He calls me up after my truck starts having problems, and he goes, "Hey, did you get a tune-up? Did you change your spark plugs at, 60,000 miles?" I was like, "I don't know. Did you?" It's like, you're the one who keeps all the records of everything that's been done to my truck. You tell me if we did that, because I don't remember. So he looked it up, and no. No, I had not had the the manufacturer recommended tune-up at 60,000 miles, right? Which is where they change out your spark plugs and a couple other things, and so he did that. But it's like, yeah, I don't know what's been done to the vehicle. I just give it to you, and you make it work better. So I'm hoping with this last, $4,000 drop into my vehicle that it lasts for quite a while. Knock on wood. And it's only got 150,000 on it. 142? Something like that. So everything pretty much works except for the rear defrost. And it's to replace my truck right now is to get the equivalent of what my truck is in today's market is about 70 grand to get the truck that I want, which is a F-250. You're like, Sean, why do you need an F-250? Because bigger is better. I don't know. One day I would like to have a toy hauler, right? Get the truck, hook up a camper to it, drag that around, some four-wheelers, some camping equipment, and my truck is rated for 9,000 pounds. So it would definitely be able to haul almost all of that without an issue. That's the number one reason why I'm not, I like the new Broncos. I think they did a good job, but I'm not interested in getting one because the 1965 Ford Bronco is rated for 3,000 pounds. The 2024 Ford Bronco is rated to tow 3,000 pounds. There is a problem here, okay? The engine on the new Broncos is very small. They might offer options with a big V8 in there in the future. We'll see. That might change my mind. But if I was going to get a Bronco, I'd want to use it as a toy. Not that I'm in any kind of financial situation to get any of these things, okay? I'm just talking out loud and dreaming with you guys about owning an actual new car one day. I've only ever owned used cars. I don't even want to own a new car at this point. It's such a ripoff, but not the point, right? If I were to go out and buy a used F-250 or a used Bronco or whatever, I would hope to be able to also afford a camper and four-wheelers and all that stuff and go out into nature and have fun. Vehicles nowadays are not built to last. No, they're not. Which is like my, as much as I would like a vehicle that can tow a little bit more, I'm more than happy to keep my truck running for as long as possible. I don't need the bill, and I don't need a vehicle that breaks down all the time. So I've got the 3.7 liter V6 EcoBoost engine in my truck, and it's a combo of decent gas mileage and decent power, right? And I've never towed anything with it, but having a truck is super handy, right? Just, in general, I've got a bed that I can throw all the crap in that I need to get rid of. I don't need to try and finagle away to get it to fit into a small car, I can just load all that crap up into the bed and strap it down and call it a day. So having a truck is nice. there is another engine. I mentioned the Ford EcoBoost engine for a reason. There is another V8 engine that comes in the 250 that I think it's the 6.8 liter V8. I'd have to look it back up again. It's one of those engines, they've been using it for quite a while, and it's got really good reviews at this point, so I don't remember which one it is off the top of my head right now, but come on, there we go. All right. We've got quite a ways to go, but how far am I? I'm probably about halfway done, right? And I'm not going to close this loop back up or anything. I will leave it open, and then we'll take the coif, pop the top off, and throw this elf weave trim in there. It'll be cool. That's what I'm working on. There we go. So, I don't know how busy of a day I have tomorrow. I probably won't be able to get down here before I start streaming. Tomorrow's going to be a pretty busy day. So, I don't know. Should be able to finish this tomorrow night. Another day or two, and we'll have it added to the coif. I was just thinking, like I just mentioned that I'm not, in any kind of financial position to have a camper and four-wheelers. And then I remembered how much four-wheelers cost, right? Hey, the small little kid four-wheelers that I was looking at for my son, they're like 90cc Kawasaki or KTM or something. Those were $2,000 when I was looking at them several years ago. So, I can't imagine what they are now. Large four-wheelers. Okay. From the little kid one at $2,000, brand new, you only get more expensive the bigger you get, right? Like, you have, luxury four-wheelers now. And they're, for hunters that are going back into the middle of nowhere to drag a deer out or whatever. But they have side-by-sides that are $20,000. I've never been a fan of those. Come on. I've never gotten to they just look awkward to drive. The side-by-sides, and they're awkward looking. Okay, so I've never seen anyone look cool in a side-by-side. Right? You can look cool on a four-wheeler. You can look cool on a motorcycle. I don't know if you can be cool on a side-by-side. Right? They look awkward to drive. They look